Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Fight Legends dev update. This is the 14th one. As always, I'm joined with Disley from the dev team. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, awesome. So just recovering from a cold, so don't mind my voice.
Absolutely, yeah. We're all, it's going through the team, even though we live in different parts of the world. Somehow, it's
Hmm.
still going through.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it's working right now. So yeah, glad to hear that you're getting over it. I'm feeling better, of course, after all my things that I've been going through. So yeah, we're here hitting full speed ahead as always. Not a lot visually to show this week, but that's only because we've got tons coming up. Lots of big changes happening, kind of behind the scenes. First, let's cover the new trailer. We have a new trailer that we plan on working on in coordination with the next IRL event. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. So tentatively, what I can tell you to begin with is basically the previous trailer was done in house. Trailers do take a lot of time and energy and money. So what we're thinking of doing is getting partnershiping up with a company who can potentially start working with us to do the trailers to sort of, you know, now that we've got the ability to do that. And so this next trailer, we wanted to sort of do like an introductory series to sort of our a obviously it sort of leads into the event and also introduces sort of the characters a little bit more and sort of starts sort of working on their background, their story, and sort of like the mystery behind the character, and then hyping that up. So yeah, we've got a really cool sequence in mind. But we're still in the sort of creative stage of it, but we're rapidly trying to push through to sort of production of the trailer and the assets. So we've just had the meeting this week with the guys. It seems pretty good. I'm kind of excited to see what how it starts to sort of manifest
Right.
um, from the creative process into reality. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a short trailer, but it'll be a cool introduction to the next event because of what we have planned for it.
Yeah, and this one took quite a, you would say, it took sort of a creative direction once it got going, right? So you never really know what that end result's going to be once we get going and start working things out. So that's exciting.
Yeah. You got like just this little idea. It's like an egg, and then it's like what is going to hatch from it.
Especially with such a cool team, right? Everyone's bringing new ideas,
Oh
thinking out
yeah,
of the box, and it culminates in this awesome new project. This new tidbit that adds on to the project. So very
oh
cool.
yeah.
Okay, and going towards like that new team, we're bringing on new team members, all sorts of cool updates there. What can you tell us about who we're adding lately, or
Yeah,
tease
I
what
can tell.
could be coming up?
I
Yeah,
can't go into like the specific detail of it yet because obviously there's still a lot of like locking it down and working out exactly where they're going to be and everything. But basically, we've had some exciting developments on like an art director, even the character concept side of things. So sort of like an artistic part of the artistic team. Obviously, art director is a huge one because it's sort of the entire project. You'll start to see the project completely change its visual direction
right.
as we start to define like how the exact sort of style that we want to go with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hopefully, it's probably not going to be too dissimilar to what we've got, but as you can tell, there's a lot of you know, a lot of the finer details actually drive the overall vision. So yeah, we'll be having those people locked in. We're basically going through a series of people and locking down who's available and who's willing to sort of work and see what kind of creative visions that we can, because they have to align with the creative vision of the project as well. So
Exactly.
it's one of
Of
those things
course.
you have to make sure it's exactly the person that is sort of on board with that. And then also we've got basically our game design. Um, we've got basically a person who's going to come on board and actually multiple people that are going to come on board to help with sort of sort of whole overview of the team and how pipeline works with asset creation, implementation, and also just an overview of game design. We've been working doing collaboration of the game design, but we also want to start getting into the nitty gritty details of it, how the players actually interact, and how that would actually look in practice.
Well,
Um,
what do you mean
you
by
know,
that? Players by the players interacting.
yeah. So basically, you've got multiple stages of a game. If you want to think of it this way, you
Mm-hmm.
can break it down into so many different ways. But often, in a fighting game, it's like, well, you've got the combat, and everyone would be like, that's the fighting game. But what supports the fighting game? How do you get into that combat? Like, so first you log into the game, then you start dealing with all of your assets that you're collecting, that you're working with, that you're earning or buying or trading, so you've got this whole ecosystem that you have to think about how the player interacts with that ecosystem, how the systems actually support the core fundamental, which would be the combat. And there's so many different ways that can be implemented. And also, obviously, as you can imagine, that strongly relates to also the economy of the system. So, we're a crypto project, NFTs. There's going to be a lot of trading. There's going to be a lot of earning. There's going to be a lot of ways the player can get stuff out as a real currency reward out of the system. And that all has to be balanced. It all has to be make sure that it's a sustainable model for the player and the game, obviously. And so there's going to be a lot of higher, development design that goes into that process, and how basically so it feels really good to play, so that you've got this sort of management aspect of the game potentially, as well as the fighting aspect of the game. And the player can focus on whichever one they actually love more.
I like that. That's huge. That's big. I mean, those are the sort of things where you're like, a young gamer would play something and be like, I don't like this game. I can't really tell you. Like, there's something, it's just not, like, there's something about it, right? So it's one of those things that isn't maybe one of the super sexy things about building the game when it comes to like the aspects that people are going to love, and what do we got to do to put it, what do we got to put in this game to make sure people play it like long term, it's got long playability, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So it's like the architecture. So it's like the blueprint. And then if you're, the house, if you're building a house, it's like the house will look absolutely awesome, but it's like, you've got to figure out how to build it in the process to make it turn out that way. So it's kind of the fundamental architecture and blueprint of the design. That's those people are basically going to be on board with helping us define that as we move forward with our process. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. All right. And also on the bill, we've got some combat design updates or changes that kind of coincides maybe a little bit with some new character directions we're taking with the concepts there. So tell us a little bit more about some of the big changes happening on that side of things.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go again. I can't reveal too much, but we've got basically we're reworking sort of the idea of how we design our characters. We've basically in the past, been sort of figuring out the process and trying to figure out like it's a quite involved process, as you can imagine, creating like a character background,
of course,
actually fleshing out the character and stuff like that. So we want basically more characters, not like in the terms of the way that they actually look, but in the terms of the way that we design to sort of fit with our next character. We really like that character. We kind of want to make more interesting characters that fit within the world like she does. But also there's something really cool. We want to collaborate with people on it as well. So that could mean other projects. Like one of the cool ideas, I thought there's a couple of projects in the space that are doing similar kind of games, and it would be really cool if we could get both of our creative teams to work on a character together.
Okay, interesting.
And then that character could actually be from both games, right? So it's not. How you'd often have a crossover collaboration from project. They'd be like, oh, well, this fighting game's having this character from this game, and now it's in this game. Well, ours would be that no, this character belongs in both games from the very beginning, because we're making a multiverse game in a sense. So it would make sense that this character would actually coexist in both worlds. Right. It's not from A or B. It's actually been designed from the very beginning as a collaborative character that exists in both worlds. He could play slightly differently, of course, in both games because of the different combat methods that they've got. But fundamentally, it'd be the same character. So that could be really cool, something that we really are interested in, want to move forward with that. Also, getting other people on board that high profile kind of people that want to design a character, but obviously not have their identity as the character. So this would mean that we would basically be inviting people to come and work with us in a creative way to create their favorite, what their fantasy character would be if they could create one in the fighting world. I think that'd be really exciting to work with. Basically people from all over the scope.
Absolutely.
And that would be absolutely mad to have you could imagine if we somehow got, I don't know.
Well, this morning, Will was talking about Mike Tyson. Like if we,
right, exactly,
if he could come in and geek out with us, create some epic fighter that's out of his brain. How cool that would be.
How amazing would that be to be able to work with Mike Tyson and be like, who is your fighter, man? Who is your like? What would be your crazy out there
Yeah.
fighter, and what would
Who's
they
your
look like?
spirit
How would they
fighter?
work? Who's your exactly? That's what we should call it, right?
Yeah.
This is Mike Tyson's
Yeah.
spirit fighter. So, and I would that to me just excites the hell out of me. So, I would love to be able to do that, and we're really looking forward to approaching people, high profile, people who have a lot of experience in those fields as well. So it's just like, how would you imbue this spirit of this person into this character? And that's something we're looking forward to as well. So that's part of the character creation pipeline that we're talking about moving forward.
The part that I always see too, because you mentioned it in other fighting games, but it could be anything. Bryson, who's on like part of like the Vaynerchuk team now, and he does like daily GameFi stuff, and he just discovered a kart game with like I think it's like Kitty Kart or something like that. But I mean, how easy would it be to do a partnership with them, and so that you have one of our characters in there, on like they do with Zelda or Link is in like
exactly yes
Mario Kart 80.
Yeah, that would be mad as well. Yeah, that's the kind of like you say, collaboration. But also, I really like the idea because that's the sort of traditional one where it's like this character now in your game. But I really love the idea of being like, why can't we develop a character together, and it actually is from both games simultaneously.
You could still technically do that, right? If the character concept's like some badass driver who
you could, you totally could do that. I mean, 100%. Yeah. This is what they look like outside the cart. That's what they look like inside the cart.
Yeah, they've got like, you could, God, who's a badass driver? I was thinking like Nick Cage from Gone in 60 Seconds. I don't know. There's got to be someone with better fighting skills. Like a mix of Neo and Nick Cage. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be mad.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, cool. So, we also have been, you mentioned that we're kind of looking at some new character concepts and ideas that way. Is there anything newsworthy, anything we can talk about towards that direction, or?
There's, we're basically going to be doing some like brainstorming sessions with our like character design team.
Okay.
And get really creative, and we don't want to like lock down anything until we're like, we want to stick everything in the pot and let it stew before we taste it and see if we've got a winner. So nothing that I can really like throw out there yet, because otherwise it would be it's not ready yet.
I'm just setting you up to slip. I'm thinking if I ask enough of these questions, there's going to be one where you say something,
Yep. Yeah, man, I know. I almost need somebody like with me just to tap my shoulder up.
Yeah,
can't say that yet.
Yeah, that's funny. No, well, that's cool. That's huge. That's going to be. There's a lot of possibilities there, and I just got to say that again. Fly on the wall. I don't care what hour it is. I'm open to an invite. I didn't see it, so.
Not yet. We're setting it up. So.
No. I'm just messing. And then. So finally, now this is something a little more, we're going to be able to lay our hands on this and see this pretty soon. I've got a Medium article ready to go. We're really on the brink of being able to release this to everyone. We got the new back end set up, new launcher. Tell us a little bit about that and when we might be able to actually get everyone on board,
so
re-onboarded.
We were basically setting that up to be ready this week, where there was a few unexpected delays that have occurred. Basically, just to like do a really quick rundown so that everyone kind of is on the same page. When you're developing things, to make sure that we are doing the process correctly, you have different environments that you go through. Like obviously a lot of people in development would know this, but some people probably don't quite get the scope of it. So I'll just break it down. Like you've got a development environment, you often have a staging environment, and then you have a prod, which is production environment. So we have to make sure that we are setting those up and actually following all of the protocols and procedure to make sure that we're doing it properly from the very beginning. So there's actually quite a lot that's involved with that in the back end, because you have to set up these 3 separate environments. You're basically cloning the environments, but also the way that you set up the production environment is a lot more secure than the development environment. So development it doesn't really matter if you sort of have things go wrong with the development environment. That's what it's for. Production, you do not want anything to go wrong with it. You don't want it to be accessible in a direct way. So it's sort of like an indirect accessibility, which means that when you're hosting things on servers and on clouds, and you typically have a client that connects to a server that then connects through to the backend of environment. So it's almost like having this VPN sort of set up where it's like the backend is not accessible from the public. You've got this sort of in-between middleman that's handling the connections.
Right.
And that also means that when you're building all these things in development, then you have to move through and set it all up so that then when you hit a button, it can be built and produced into the staging environment where you start testing everything, making sure it's absolutely perfect before you replicate it onto the production. So we're basically, we have been setting that up. And there are a few little things with that environment that we were trying to iron out with in terms of basically like regions, like the client has to connect through to a region, and it was having a bit of trouble with its sort of access points.
Yes.
To get technical.
Mm-hmm.
So we've sorted that out though, and there's just a few small details that we're trying to work with. Basically, we're doing the thorough testing at the moment of it, so making sure that there's absolutely no problem. So if we don't want to roll it out to our to all of our bloody face holders and have them be sitting there going, why is it throwing this error? Why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? So we're just making sure that all of those things are absolutely ironed out. Otherwise, we'll just be offering a crappy experience to our users, and we don't really want to do that. But it's looking like it's almost ready. We've just got one or two little things more to iron out, and then it should be. I want to say that we should be releasing it by next week. I really wouldn't want it to be any later than that. But I think that we'll be able to do that successfully.
Awesome.
So I've been working with our back-end developer to sort of like make sure that that's on track. Everything's working properly.
Now, this is a little extra tidbit here. I had seen, I don't know if we talked about this, but maybe we did and I forgot, but there wasn't what was the exploit that was used to win the tournament by the guys at the IRL Web3 Throwdown? And
yeah, it wasn't actually as much of an exploit. It was just more of the fact that I haven't implemented some of the moves that hadn't been implemented with the frame advantage yet, which basically means that you can repeatedly attack, and the other person, because they don't have a frame advantage, can't block the preceding attack.
So you can spam it.
Yeah, so you can kind of like catch them in a spamming situation. But one of the major things that ended up at the end of the tournament when Will was fighting was that I think Will was quite relaxed. He was quite relaxed. He didn't have he maybe had a bit of drink.
Sure.
And also he wasn't holding backwards to block. Because it just came down to that. I was watching his controller and he's saying, hey, it's not working. And he's just flicking the control stick around. And I'm just saying, all you need to do is push backwards on the D-pad, man.
Right.
So that kind of made me giggle a little bit because we can't blame the controller not working. The controller was working fine.
Yeah, that's the classic. Like, what's hey, what? Can I get a new one? What's going on? Yeah.
But in the spirit of things, no, I think that it was mad that that guy had come down. He'd actually booked him and his friends a hotel in Melbourne, so that him winning the tournament helped cover him coming down.
Expenses,
and I think that's how excellent is that? That's the perfect way to come down, win a tournament, pay for your friends to stay in a nice hotel.
Warburn's asking online if it was a repeat kick.
Yeah, it was. He was basically just a couple of last shots. It wasn't for the whole thing. It didn't
okay
down for the entire thing. The couple last shots was Will couldn't break out of it because it was just that. I think it was the heavy kick basically that he was doing. But all that frame advantage information will be in the next build, so that won't be possible. Right. So sorry guys.
Sorry, but also thank you to that guy, or you're welcome to that guy who discovered it at a very good opportunity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. And that's what playing is all about, especially with fight games. It's noticing patterns that you can exploit.
Exactly.
And whether the patterns are within the game mechanics or they're from the player.
And we had 3 rigs set up on the side that people were able to play in the night before the tournament, and he actually was watching other people playing it, and then he had to go himself and stuff. Yeah, so that's how he kind of had a little bit of an advantage compared to. We did plan to have a bit of like a warm up round for everybody, but I think the time was sort of a bit short, so we ended up just going straight to the tournament. It would have been nice to give everybody a bit of a warm up. So we'll do that next time, or we'll have more machines available for people to try it.
Now that guy, we've got to get that guy in a bloody face and a Discord invite, huh?
We do. I mean, he technically should have won a bloody face, so we'll need to hit him up and see whether or not he's received that, and then get him into Discord. and start
Absolutely.
maybe he could become one of our testers.
You never know. Exactly. Yeah. And one last thing. So, when it comes to the back end after, so that's gonna, we were doing GameFi throwdowns, trying to connect with the team. Will that help with that, or will it still be best used with like someone in my area? How
Okay,
far out
so
will that
the
improve?
way, yeah, okay. So that will basically depend on we're setting up at the moment. The client's still using the placeholder networking because we're basically the developer that we're getting on board is actually starting this month. His responsibility will be basically setting up the client to client communication using the rollback netcode that we're going to be implementing. Um, so very soon, I hope that he'll take him as you can imagine with any person coming into a new project, it'll take a while to sort of understand like how the project's laid out.
Yes.
But as soon as he does and starts that implementation process will be a part of his learning process and getting to deal with that. And then once he does, we'll have the networking rolled out as soon as it's available. So I'm hoping within like that month. I'm hoping probably before the next live event that we have in sort of June. I think it's like sort of the end of June that we're looking at. I'm hoping that it'll hopefully be usable by then, and we'll be rolling it out to everybody to play. And that means that hopefully we could have a client to client. We can probably just direct IP to IP sort of thing,
Right.
set that up and test that out between us, and or at least you and other people in your area can connect and it will be
Nice.
probably fine because of the low ping.
Cool. Good to know. Yeah. Well, that's something to look forward to. All kinds of cool, big things. These are obviously, these are the sort of things that are gonna lead to a lot more content sooner rather than later. So in the next month, we're gonna have all sorts of things going down around here. So thank you everyone who's watching every week. Thank you for everyone who's been watching today and commenting. And we're gonna see everyone next time on the Dev Update every Thursday night. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.